All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another live stream. I don't know why, but this week feels like it's gone by very, very quickly. So we'll begin with the usual checks that we can both see and hear me clearly. I'm hoping we won't have too many sound issues this week, although last time we seemed to have a few to start off with, then they kind of went away. So blame my rural, pretty awful internet connection for that. So we have the chat window up. Who have we got joining us already? We have Bib, as of course we always do. We have Neil. We have Titi. I'm not saying that one. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah, Shalom Owen. Yeah, okay. So while everybody kind of filters in, because with these things it always takes a little while for people to kind of everyone turn up. So the topic of discussion in the comment section so far seems to be fuel prices. So what are people paying for fuel at the moment? It seemed, I initially thought it was a COVID related thing, but there's been some toing and froing in the oil world, so fuel prices dropped quite dramatically, and then I went to fill up the car yesterday, and regular unleaded here was 99p, and I pretty much can't remember seeing that since I got my motorbike license, because I got that before my car license, and that was 13 years ago. Yeah, that was crazy because I remember I had a Gilera Runner VXR 200 scooter and had an 8.5 litre fuel tank in it. And if my mum or dad gave me 10 quid for fuel, I could not fill the bike with that. So usually there was enough money for fuel and a sandwich. So I'm at the minute I'm quite happy with the state of fuel. And then at the local Tesco, it was 105.9 for diesel, and it's 106.9 for super, which is amazing considering about 3 months ago I was paying 140 a litre for super at the local Shell. I'm sure it's probably still 140 a litre for super at the local BP because, BP. I don't know. Do you guys have this? BP always seems to be something of a rip-off. I don't know why. Yeah. So although maybe, maybe when everybody starts driving again, the prices will go back up. But who can say? VPower £1.25 in Northants. Oof. Yeah, BP. I tell you what, the worst one at BP ever happened was it was the last time that fuel dropped quite dramatically. So it's about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe even further back than that. I remember fuel went down in price by 20-30% in a week. So it dropped from it was 140 for fuel, and it went down to 110. And I went to the local BP and I went to go and fill up, and their regular fuel was 110, and I had the super nozzle in my hand and I was about to fill up on it, and I realised they were still charging £1.50, 40p a litre more for super, which is a complete swizz. Ridiculous. We've also got a Texaco not too far from where I am, which is attached to a co-op thing. Someone's just mentioned co-op. And it's a bit of an oddity, really, because Texaco, it's a strange one. I love when you go abroad, when you travel through Europe, for those of us that do that, that you get all the different stations. I'm trying to think of the ones you get in Spain. You get the Agip in Spain. You get the Gulf fuel stations, all that kind of stuff. In Germany, I like going to the Aral stations because you can get the 102 there. I always like to kind of treat my cars to at least one tank of 102. Not really sure that it actually makes a difference, but yeah. So Repsol, yeah, Repsol. Repsol was one of those companies. All right, let's talk our stuff because I love the interaction, the feedback with you all. Repsol, I always think of as the Repsol Hondas, the MotoGP bikes and things, but it's one of those liveries. I never even realised what they sold. Are there any other products out there that people know just from racing liveries? I mean, when Michael Schumacher was racing in the Benetton Formula One cars, I had no idea what a Benetton was. I didn't know what they sold, nothing like that. It was always a bit random, really. So let's see how many people we got watching already, because it's Airwaves Ducati. So I knew some some guys at a British superbike race we were at, and they're quite attractive guys, and they had the sort of usual, you know, because this was 10 years ago, it's fairly un-PC, so they had the ladies walking around in the very like skin tight, skimpy Airwaves dress thing, and yeah, they these young guys, I think they must have spoken to every single girl in the whole paddock because they came back with like a lifetime supply of Airwaves chewing gum. Okay, so oh, Patronus, yeah, I actually bought some Patronus oil for my Evora because with the Lotus being Malaysian owned at the time, the recommended oil, of course, was Patronus. So just because I did order in some Patronus stuff. Okie dokie, so we've got some questions coming in. All right. Oh, and the fuel's 20p a litre in Jeddah. Well, yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. All right. Okay, so Adam's got a question for me. Let's hope it's a good one. Next daily, does he go for a Porsche and get a 997.1 or stick with his Mercs and stick with an SL? That is a good question. That is a really, really good question. If you've never done a Porsche, if you haven't at all, I would go for one. Like, I think if I was going to make the choice out of the two, I might go for the SL simply because I haven't done an SL. I haven't had one. I do quite enjoy them, but they are really completely different cars to the 911. The only caveat I would say in there is that if you are considering a convertible 911, I'd really, really think heavily about a Boxster because you're going to get a hell of a lot more for your money with the equivalent Boxster versus a 911. All right. Have I ever thought about doing any podcasts? Yes, I have. I have done some in the past. I deleted all of them because I wasn't happy with them. I am going to be trying to do, trying to do some more podcasty type stuff in the near future. It's a case of finding time because at the minute I've got plenty of time on my hands, but I can't really get anybody in to talk to co-host a podcast or anything like that. So it's a little bit tricky. But yes, podcasts are something I want to bring back. My sort of weekly transmission wine type thing is what's going to evolve into the podcast. So that's going to stay on the channel. And yeah, so podcasts will be a thing. The weirdest, funniest item I've ever found from a previous owner in a used car that I bought. I am going to refer you to a video that I did with my buddy Laurie from Laurie's Mechanical Marvels, where we went through all of the stuff that he got in his suspiciously cheap Toyota MR2. The weirdest thing I think we found in there was a wallet in not bad condition. Wasn't a horrible wallet. It was a fairly cheap sort of leather wallet. And in there was no money or anything, just a single photo. And it wasn't of the guy we picked it up from. It clearly wasn't of his dad or anything because the guy didn't look old enough. It was just a random photo of a man in a wallet. That was slightly creepy. Bib asks, am I out reviewing again yet? It's a little bit tricky. I should be filming some stuff tomorrow. The problem I have at the moment is this, that I have read through the guidelines quite a few times and government advice really actually hasn't dramatically changed for me recently because we've always been allowed to work if we can't work from home. The problem is that reviewing is work for me, but it isn't work for the people that will be bringing me their cars. So what I'm looking at doing is I'm going to be potentially doing things with other YouTubers, and I'm also going to be trying to do stuff with some garages because they're slowly starting to open back up now, and they obviously need some help promoting the cars that they have in stock because most of them have sat around for a little while. And the fact is that working with garages, so I'm literally just in discussion with one now, that I can do a lot of reviews at a time. So I did a bunch of stuff with Total Head Tanners just before the virus thing hit and we went into lockdown. And from like 2 days of filming, I got like 7 or 8 videos, which people have been hopefully enjoying over the last sort of 2 months. And that was really lucky. That was really well timed. So, thank goodness for that. how are car finance companies handling the virus? So actually, because I've been looking at getting another car, and at least 2 out of 3 finance companies that I spoke to are actually not taking on any new business at all. My guy that I use, Daryl, some of the lenders that he's using aren't doing new business. Some of them are still. I personally think it's a very odd decision from these companies to just say we're not doing new business. I think it's really, really weird because, loads of people still have plenty of money and they want to spend, and a lot of people might need to get a car. Maybe their car's broken or whatever, or it crashed or something. So it's all a bit weird. I think a lot of it's just a bit of nervousness on the part of finance companies, really. What do I think of PPF? I thought about getting it. I did actually a whole video on this. I thought about getting it when I bought my Evora because it's the only car I ever bought brand new, so it's the only car that ever seemed worth putting PPF on. And then when I worked out how much it was going to cost me, I thought I would much rather just repaint the car at a later date. So yeah. Do I think the 987 Boxster is a good buy? Do they handle as well as people say? Yes. Yes, they do handle as well as people say, but no, I don't think they're really going to go up in value in any meaningful way, not in any sort of short period of time. It's going to be another sort of, I think, 10, 20 years before you might see a Boxster actually go up in value whatsoever. So I really wouldn't be buying one for that purpose. But the good news is a lot of Boxsters, 987s in particular, are actually reasonably cheap. So that's a good thing. Okie dokie, what have we got here? Am I ever going to try a Alpha 75 or GTV6? I would love to if I could. I did the SZ, which is a shortened version of the 75 platform, I think. So I'd love to try a 75. Okay. Gallardo Performante or 16M, which is the 430 Scud 16M, the convertible. I don't know. I've always had a thing for the Gallardo, the early Superleggera before it was a Performante. I've always had a thing for those. But the Ferrari's probably the better driving car. The Ferrari's probably the better car. But as far as I'm concerned, in the video today, was talking about exactly this. When it comes to dream cars, the fact that it's the better car doesn't always enter into it, which I hope makes some sort of sense. Okay, let's have a look. What have we got here? All right, people talking about McLaren and the fact that they're sort of, putting the silverware up as collateral for getting some money in. I've no idea what is going to happen to McLaren next. I think everyone keeps talking to me about McLaren stuff. It's funny. There's one particular forum where I'm not very popular at all for my opinions on McLarens, and they clearly they hear the things that they don't like me saying, and they don't hear the things that they believe that I haven't said, if that makes any sense. Like whenever I say anything good about McLaren, they don't hear it. All they hear is the bad things that I say, and that's very, very unfortunate because I take great pains to try and be quite balanced with a lot of these things. But yeah. So yeah, there you go. Ian's asked a couple of times about tuning a V6 3-litre diesel. It really depends which 3-litre V6 diesel you're talking about, but most of them do benefit quite considerably from a tune. So yeah. Where do I see Alfa Romeo going in the future? That's really tricky. That's really, really tricky because they seem to have this really bright, amazing future with, a new 6C or whatever it was coming, a GTV, Giulia, presumably quadrifoglio-based coupe coming, and then they kind of just, they all fell apart. Sergio Marchionne died, who was the guy that seemed to, I think, be pushing for all of this stuff, and it all fell apart. The GTV got canned, the 6C got canned, the Giulietta and Mito are pretty much dead. So Alfa are in a dark place because they need a volume car, and the Giulia and Stelvio aren't enough to keep that whole brand going. So yeah. Are Porsche the best at doing modern manual cars? They have done some pretty damn good manual cars. The GT3's gearbox is very good. I did a Boxster Spider. That review's coming out in a couple of weeks. That is, yeah, that's a brilliant, brilliant gearbox. One of the best that I've ever driven. Z4M Coupe versus 996 C4S manual. Well, I've owned both of those, and if I was going to buy one back, it would be the Porsche. If I was going to have another Z4M, it wouldn't be a coupe, even though the coupe is one of the sexiest cars BMW have made in the last sort of 20, 30 years. Okay, G9IC wants a fantastic handling and practical daily. What's your budget? We need a budget, so myself and all the other viewers can help you with that one. Someone's also, Reg has said that Aston Martin are in a bit of a pickle as well. Yes, they are. They are very much in a bit of a pickle. Potentially a much bigger pickle than McLaren are. They've tried so many things. Their boss has tried so many things over the last few years. It really hasn't worked. Their whole going public thing was all a complete disaster. They lost something like, was it 80% of their value in a year or so, even shorter than that? It was pretty it was pretty tragic, all of that business. And the biggest problem, and I made a video on this a year ago or something like that. The biggest problem is that the core Aston Martin lineup, the V8 Vantage, your DB11, I just don't see people buying them. The DB11 sold okay, I think, when it sort of first new, but even Aston said that it didn't really work. The V8 Vantage is supposed to be the big volume seller, and at Christmas they had to discount the bejesus out of them to get anyone to buy them because the dealers were overflowing with stock. And that, for a model that's still in what should be its honeymoon period, is not a good place to be. Really, really not. So, yeah. What beats a Lotus Elise S2 for 15 to 20 grand? You'd have to go for something quite different, Tim. So you're not going to get anything really handles kind of better. I mean, you'd have to go like something completely random. I did a Maserati review that's coming out soon. Something like that. You'd have to go from a completely different type of thing. So G9 ICs, so if you're PCP 40k or pre-owned 25 to 30k, so for good handling cars, I go for a pre-owned 25 to 30k. You would get, did you ask for a hatchback? I'm trying to see if you asked for a hatchback. Yeah, you want a fantastic handling, practical daily. I've had a look at a lot of 340i estates with a good friend of mine recently. They're not like the best handling, but they're extremely practical. Really, really good fun. I guess I struggle to recommend the Jags. I would love to be able to recommend a Jag, but they just annoyed me. Unfortunately. Maybe see if you can find one of the old Jag XF sport brakes with the 6-speed auto, which I think is going to be a much better gearbox than the 8-speed was. It just did not work very much at all. Have I driven many or any TVRs? Yes, I have. I have done reviews on the Tuscan, Cerberus Speed 6, and a Temora. And I also have a Cigaris coming up. I want to do some stuff on the older cars, older TVRs. Obviously, that's kind of all on hold at the moment. And I do love the TVRs. They're flawed, but they are flipping good fun. Really, really good fun. Okay. All right, so Craig says a few weeks ago he was considering a Ferrari 456, but automatic. At the upcoming Silverstone auctions, there's a 2004 Merc SL65. Very, very different cars, those two. SL65, I have this worry that the SL65 would be something of a one-trick pony. They are obscenely quick. I know a guy that had an S65. He said it was superbly fast. But the problem is, all of the other good bits about it, the luxury, the comfort, all that sort of stuff, you get with the V8, you get out with the SL55 or the SL63. And I can't help but wonder that you might then just get really peeved off with all of the other stuff about the V12, the ridiculous fuel consumption, the constant fear of huge bills, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I would worry about that. Alrighty. What do we got here? Okay. Oh, Edward, thank you very much for your kind donation. Yes, I do still want to drive your Zoe. So as soon as restrictions are lifted a little bit, then drop me a line. Absolutely, of course I do. Did I see anything that would interest me at the Silverstone auction coming up? No, I was going to watch the Harry's Garage preview video of the upcoming auction, and I then realised it was like 10 to 8, and I needed to get kicking off with the live stream. So sorry about that, everyone. I've been watching quite a few Harry's Garage videos recently. So yeah. MSA purchased an XE350 and he loves it. Well, I'm great. Very, very happy. Good, thank you. Do I prefer the GT3 Touring over the regular GT3 with a wing? No, I think for a GT3, it's got to have a big wang. It just needs it. That's just me. I just prefer the look of it. I prefer 911s with a bit of a wing on the back. Maybe a ducktail type thing, kind of like the old Sport Classic, like that. That would be kind of cool. So yeah. Pogs is asking about the Celica GT4. I get asked this every single week. It is off being restored. That is what is happening with it. There is no more update on it than that, I'm afraid. Okay. Would I like to drive an Elise Sport 160? Yes, I would. Never turn down the opportunity to drive an Elise. It's just guidance for life. They are an awful lot of fun. Okay. Oh, there's a purple Europa, is there? Is it the old Europa? I hope it's the old Europa because they're bizarre cars. There's a lorry car, but they are awesome. Thank you for the money from Paint Gang. That'll help replenish the supply of caffeine-free Diet Coke. My opinion on the Volvo XC90 R design. So I did review an XC90, although I don't think it was an R design. Driven a couple of R design cars in the past, and although when it starts off, I tend to think that the R design would definitely be the one that I want. If I'm being perfectly honest with myself, when I've actually sort of got there and started driving them, I generally realise that it will be, what do they call it, the inscription or the momentum or something like that. The more luxurious trim, that tends to suit that kind of car better. V90, XC90, all those sorts of things. And Volvo do some really, really nice interiors. I mean, considering the XC90 I drove was like less than half the price of the Range Rover that I drove like 2 weeks later or the week after, that was a really, really nice car. I just wish they do better engines. I know they do some half-decent engines, but yeah. Okay. If I could choose any hyper or supercar free of charge, what would it be? Carrera GT, easy. Okay. What fast petrol estate for under 20 grand? That is a tricky one. Would be a 3. Can you get a 340i or a 335i? Maybe for that sort of money. Or some sort of E-Class. Yeah, an E-Class with a tasty engine in it for 20 grand. Try that. That's my first sort of inkling, really. I do love an estate, but unfortunately, when I've generally owned estates, I've generally wanted them to be more economical. So yeah, I wish Kia put the Stinger 3.3 in an Optima because that would be mega, and there's space to do it. I mean, there's clearly space to do it. Is the Ferrari 488 now good value? Yeah, it is. They've come down quite a lot. They're pretty much the same price as a 458, and it's a lot more car in so many ways. I know people will always go gooey for the 458, but the 488's really grown on me looks wise. I think it's a pretty cool car. Have I ever had a car that was a complete pain to sell? Yeah, I have had a couple. My Alfa Brera was a tough one. It was a really, really tough one. It was not the tidiest of cars. It was a Cat D write-off, but I mean, it was quite obvious what had happened to it. It just had a shunt at the front. And yeah, it didn't have too much history with it. So yeah. Johnny wants to know, big executive saloon or a 4x4? Well, there's a 7 Series on the driveway, so that should answer that one. My thoughts on the new Jaguar F-Type facelift. Actually, good question. I kind of like what they've done style-wise. They haven't really changed that much. I mean, it was fine. My opinion on the F-Type hasn't really changed massively. I really wish they did more on the interior, though. The interior doesn't look like they've tried at all. I'm not quite sure what's going on. What's most exciting to me, and the car I wanted to try and was trying to book when everything kind of got put on pause, was the new V8. And no one's really talked about this, but you've still got the full fire-breathing, 575 whatever horsepower car, which was the SVR, but it's just not called the SVR anymore. The more exciting car, I think, is the plain V8, which is 450 brake. And it looks like it's going to be very, very good value for money compared to a 911. So I really wanted to have a go of that and see. What would I do with Maserati if it were down to me? Yeah, it's that poor company needs some serious work. The Ghibli needs a lot of help, needs a bit of a redesign, I think. I've heard a lot of bad things about it. The Gran Turismo, I think they need a new Gran Turismo because it was a good car. I know it never sold brilliantly, but if it would just put some more effort into it, it would be a great car. And I think they should do a sports car of some sort. The problem is that they're kind of stepping on Ferrari's toes, so that's a shame. Well, the Gran Turismo is already ended. It's done. So the VX220 that I drove is a good weekend car. Yes, it's brilliant. What are the issues I've heard about on the Ghibli? Well, it's just not supposed to be very reliable. I think they sold a hell of a lot of them to company car buyers, and a lot of people I know that have that work in the trade and work with Maserati dealers and things like that have said they've had a lot of problems with build quality, reliability, and things like that. And that unfortunately isn't very good because it's going to put a lot of people off the brand for quite a while. So that's a real shame. I think somebody near me owns a Levante because I keep seeing what I'm sure is the same car around, but I've never seen it stopped to really be able to take a proper look at it. But the Levante, again, is a car that I think we all just completely forget exists. I've never been sure where Maserati fit into the automotive marketplace, and it's probably not going to help with Ferrari now building an SUV as well. It's going to be odd. Why do I like yellow cars? Excellent question. Growing up, some of my family have had yellow cars, and I've kind of always liked that. I am a card-carrying tart, so I do love kind of bright, wacky cars. In terms of smaller cars, sports cars, stuff like the Lotus, things like that, I actually think yellow is a safety thing to do as well because I've had a lot of times where driving around sort of British country lanes. If you're driving, say, like a dark coloured or especially like a dark green car, you're pretty invisible. So having a car that's nice and bright, it makes you more visible, and which is safer, which is silly, but I think that is the case. Have I ever owned an old American muscle car? No, but I am doing some more reviews on them soon. Okay. Am I ever tempted to pick up a cheap BMW 645? Well, sort of, but I already owned one years ago, so I've kind of been there, done that. Facelift RS3, my thoughts. Did they facelift it? I didn't notice. But I have done a review on the old RS3, and I suspect that I'll probably think much the same. Okay. XJR, the X350 or the X308. Controversial. I have to go X350 there. Really, really like that car. Okay. Do I like purple cars? Yeah. Purple cars are cool, especially if they're Lamborghini Diablo SE30s. They are pretty nice. What Maserati would I own if I could have one? There's a really, really tasty Grand Sport up for sale at the minute in bright yellow, funnily enough. But there's also a very, very nice, like triple layer red Gran Turismo MC Stradale. I think it's Aston Martin Newcastle. I've been doing a lot of window shopping while lockdown has been on. So yeah, that's a pretty cool looking car. The shape of them is growing on me. The biggest problem with them is they are enormous, huge cars. Loads of space in them, but yeah, it's tricky. There's a Lotus Carlton at Silverstone Auctions. What's my opinion on them? I did a review on it. You could go and watch that. But generally speaking, they're actually very comfortable, very nice, very plush cars. Not the sort of sharp kind of thing that you might expect with it having a Lotus badge on, but yeah, very, very nice. JM, if your car was a personality, what would it be? Broken. Okay. Why do I think BMW never made M car estates? They did. They made an M5 Touring, didn't they, with the V10 in it? I suspect they sort of haven't done it because maybe it didn't. Well, I know that the Touring didn't sell quite as well, which is why there's still a lot of money. I guess maybe they just thought that that's Audi and BMW's patch, and they'll just kind of continue doing the saloons. It's very sad, really, because I do love a fast touring car. Yeah, so yeah, it's tricky. Do I think Mazda could do well with their plans of releasing a rear-wheel drive car with a straight-six engine? I really, really hope that they do well. I really, really hope, but whether they will or not, I don't know. I really don't know. Would I consider doing a short series on great driving roads or routes? No. No, I wouldn't, for a very simple reason, which is that I'm very guarded about what where I drive and everything else, and I have no intention in making people aware of where I am or drawing attention to particular roads and things like that. I just don't think it's a wise thing to do. That's it, basically. Paint Gang, thank you very much for your donation. You've got a channel with 15 subscribers. I did a video talking about different things that people should do if they're looking to grow a channel, start a new channel, which I would recommend that as a first port of call. Quite a few YouTubers have done videos in lockdown talking about the struggles of YouTube, stuff like that. So I would go and watch everything that you can that they've created on, search, YouTube, new channel advice, stuff like that. Go and watch every single video you can. Go and watch all the videos that are like the sort of channel that you would like to be. Yeah, just do what you can. Just research. And then the toughest bit is be brutally honest with yourself. Like, make a video, watch it, and if it's no good, work out why is it no good and what you can do to make it better. Okay. All right. Never seen me happier than when I drove the Morgan three-wheeler. Yeah, it was a genuine riot, that car, like absolute riot. But there might be a car to beat it next Saturday's review, so earmark that. Okay. What cars are tipped to become a cult classic? That's a good one. The BMW 130i is a car I dearly miss, and I think did not get the love and attention that it really deserved. I think maybe there's some. It's more like models, so I think like the BMW 550, the 650 cars that never really sold that well here, with the nice big petrol engines. I think people might hopefully develop a bit of an affinity for them. I don't know. It's tricky. You can never quite work out what really is going to work and what isn't. Have I driven a Reliant Robin? Yes, I've done thousands and thousands of miles in Reliant Robins, actually, all across Europe. I've driven one in Paris, I've driven one in Berlin, I've driven them all over the place. Oh, Patrick, thanks to you. Very kind donation, $10. That's extremely generous. If I happen to get access to a Mustang GT350 to drive, would I consider doing a review? Yes, I would absolutely. I would love to have a crack at a Mustang GT350. It's one of the cars that I think is a great shame Ford never decided to bring it over here, because I think that would have sold really, really well. Yeah, now people have got the Mustang thing kind of out of their, out of their system. Would I be considered in an R1 engine Mini for the channel? Yes, absolutely. If you have an R1 engine Mini, then please email me and my email address, which is in the description of every video. Do I think hydrogen fuel cells are going to be a big step forward? Yes, I do. There's some problems with the technology I keep reading about. I think distribution is the big issue at the moment. But yeah, I would hope that they do well. I've got £5,000 to spend on a car to drive across Europe for the summer. That's a good question from Harry. What would I take? Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. 5 grand. You can't get into an S2000 or anything like that. And an S2000, I think, would get on your nerves. I don't know. Maybe I'd go risky. Get like a 986 Boxster. Get a Boxster for 5 grand and do that. I think that would be quite good fun. Yeah, because it's not a bad tourer, not the best, but a lot of fun when you get to some nice roads, and they're quite practical. Lots and lots of space in there. Okie dokie. What would I get for £30,000? A GTR. It would be a ropey GTR for £30,000, wouldn't it? I would say, just out of the blue, Aston V8 Vantage. You can get a really nice one of those for less than 30 grand, and I'll be doing a video on one of those very soon. I did a video on a slightly more expensive one a little while ago, but yeah, they're cool. The most disappointing driver experience. I don't know about most disappointing. Most frustrating in recent memory was the Honda NSX that I drove in the States. Frustrating simply because you could tell that the car was absolutely brilliant and the roads were awful. In fact, I've been watching a lot of YouTube stuff lately, which is very unusual for me. And I've watched quite a few reviews of people driving cars in America, and I don't know how they feel, happy even calling them reviews, because they're just driving them around little built-up urban areas and then onto the freeway. And it's like, that's an awful place to review a car. You're not learning anything about that car. It's a terrible, terrible idea. So yeah, I have quite a few things that really get on my nerves about when I watch other car YouTube things, like people flooring it in built-up urban areas is very, very high on my pet hate list. So yeah, that is that. Have I ever been to Ireland? Yes, I have been to Ireland. I need to go more. I've got family over there. My granddad's Irish, and I promised my Irish great aunt that I would go and visit her in Dublin at some point. And there's a few cars that have already been offered to me in Ireland, but unfortunately, it's probably going to be a next year thing now. So yeah, that's. I do want to get over there. It's beautiful, beautiful country. Okay. So J300 node location's not an issue. Just email me, you madman. Okay, how's the S2000? Yeah, S2000 is brilliant. S2000 is very brilliant. I even treated it to a wash and a clean today. Just loving it, absolutely loving it. With the great weather we've been having, roof is down all the time. Like, it is making life that little bit more tolerable. So I really enjoy it. Peter Smith asks, do these live events generate much ad money? Not really. Well, I don't know how ads work on the live events, because I'm presuming you aren't getting adverts like played at you while I'm doing stuff. But people, as you can see, like Patrick and that, are doing the super chat thing and kindly donating. So yeah, every Sunday it's a little bit of extra money, and it is making a really big difference. It's not the reason that I do it. I do it because I enjoy it, but it is a nice thing to kind of have come in. Plans for a Canada trip? Yeah, at some point I would love to do a Canada trip, again, it's just there's so many other things to organise. So it will happen, but I just don't know when. Would I buy a Viper as a second car? Yeah, I would. Is there anything that I disliked about the E92 M3 that I had previously? Yeah, there was loads I disliked about the E92 M3. I disliked the fact that it would do seriously illegal speeds ridiculously easily, which was a lot of fun on track, and then very annoying everywhere else. I mostly hated how low it was, because where I live, there are a lot of farms, and the tractors tend to drag sort of clumps of mud onto the road. And genuinely, I started getting scared about taking the car out, because the thing was so damn low that if you came across one of these sort of big, hard kind of clumps of mud in the middle of the road, you would just hope that it was still soft enough that the car would either go over the top of it or cut through it. So yeah, that was not fun. I'm hoping to do a review of a relatively standard E92 M3, because that's something I haven't actually covered on the channel. I remember them being very, very good cars. So yeah, what will be my ultimate road trip? A C7 Corvette, Grand Sport, USA. Just going where I no idea. Just finding good food. I just go from restaurant to restaurant. Oh, thank you, Hyde, for a kind donation. Very, very nice. E39 530D is a daily. Yes. Yes. My favourite Just Eat order. I want to get Just Eat to sponsor the channel. That would be really nice because, I'm sure they're doing good business at the minute. There's a very, very good pizza place locally to me. There are three. There's first was in a place called Sudbury, the second one is in Colchester. Third one is in Bishop Stortford. They're called Dough and Co. And yeah, I tend to have the buffalo chicken. That's pretty good. Yeah, it's actually pretty damn good pizza. Really, really nice. Have I ever driven an E39 BMW 540? No, I haven't. I would love to. XK or XKR and why? XKR, yeah, just because it's just more. I think it just suits it. It really, really does. Have I ever met Shmee? No, I haven't. Okay. Do I ever think the high road tax car ban in the UK will ever stop? Well, it's not gone up by really that much. And compared to what other countries pay, I think, I think it's not too bad, really. I'd rather have to pay the tax than them just say we're not allowed to own the cars anymore. Let's be honest. Edward, thank you very much. Yeah, that's a fifth of the way to a pizza. So, okay. Ocella Squadra Corsa wants me to say Doug DeMuro. Why do you want me to say that? If I say it 3 times in a row, will he appear? Pacific Coast Highway in California. Yeah, I've done some of PCH in California. And I did it in a Mustang, convertible Mustang. That was beautiful. I had a little Airbnb in a place called Half Moon Bay, just south of San Francisco. Just gorgeous part of the world. Is my hair greasy or wet? No, it's got a little bit of hair gel in it to try and give it some shape and some sort of shine. My thought on the speed limiters being built into new cars after 2022, as long as I can turn them off, I don't care. Pancake 119. I'm sorry you don't like my buffalo chicken choice, but this is a pretty damn good buffalo chicken. The alternative that I tend to have is a calzone. I do love me a calzone. My favourite mainland European country to drive in, probably Germany, and it's not for the autobahns. The autobahns are lovely, the autobahns are fun, but anyone that's actually driven them will know that there's more roadworks than there is, 200 mile an hour, fill your boots segments. There we go. Is it worth cheaping out and getting a K-Series Elise instead of the Toyota variant? Well, funnily enough, you say that, Ian, but most people with the Rover-engined Lotus don't really seem to see it as the sort of cheap-out option. In fact, there's a lot of people that deliberately seek out the Rover-engine cars, and there's a lot to like about the Rover-engine cars. I personally prefer the Toyota engine one if you're talking about the Series 2 where you've actually got the choice. And that's for various reasons. The gearbox is much better. The Toyota engines are more reliable, but then the Rover engines are cheaper to fix and maintain and all that jazz. So it swings and roundabouts on that one. And really, I would go for the best car that you can find and not worry too much about the engine. I got an Elise 111R, and if I'm being perfectly honest with myself, that was probably the wrong thing to have. What is the cheapest car I've ever bought? I did get a car for free once. I got a Toyota Previa for free. Beyond that, the cheapest I actually gave money for, would it have been the MG lorry and I bought was £525. That was pretty cheap. Any chance of doing a podcast with Sam? I presume you mean from Behind the Glass, and Tony from Gravelwood. I don't know. I haven't spoken to Sam for ages. If he invites me, I would definitely say yes. I really like Sam. He's a very good guy. Works very hard. Very hard indeed. How long does editing usually take, and how long in advance do I film my videos? So editing for a regular sort of car review type video, a couple of hours. And how long in advance do I film? It really depends. Anything from, I usually try and film at least 2 to 4 weeks in advance, but you know, there's content coming out middle of June that I shot early March. So that's what, 3 months. So yeah, and that happens. Would I rather fight one horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses? I think the 100 duck-sized horses, I think they could be easily distracted with some hay, something like that, some sort of basic scare tactics or some lure, some sort of food. So I think that would be the best way to do that, and just lead them all off a cliff. The highest mileage car that I've owned, I think, now I've got to be careful here because the Celica's on over 200,000 on the odometer. Wow, Skull Hunter, blimey, that's a incredibly generous donation. Blimey, you're a legend. Thank you very much. Yeah, where was I? Oh, that's taken me by surprise. That it's really, really sweet. Yeah. People talk about strange business decisions. Okay, where was I? Can someone tell me what I was talking about? Because I have forgotten. What I think of the MX-5 NC, I haven't actually driven one. It's one of the few MX-5s that I haven't driven, and I really want to because I really, really love them. High mileage, high mileage, high mileage. Thank you very much. Yeah, the Sneaker's on over 200,000 on the odometer, but that is a mixture of KMs and miles. So it's tricky. My E46 330 had 157,000 miles on it when I sold it. So yeah, that I think, you know, I'm sure I've driven cars with more mileage, but I don't think I owned any. How do you donate £50? It's a super chat thing, I think. I mean, it works for any amount of money. I don't know if there's a limit to it or any. Is there a limit? I don't know. I don't know how it works. Can me and Adam Ivel do a collab with his new EG6 in yellow? We could do, I guess. I mean, Adam's not too far away from me. He's a really cool guy. Really, really nice. I like. What fun car would I buy for 15 grand? Well, I did buy an S2000, but ignoring that, I would. Yeah, what would I get? If you want something crazy, you could get the Z4M convertible, as flawed as it is. You could get a 911, 996 for 15 grand. That works. Yeah, loads of different things. Best luxury 4x4. Tricky actually, because I don't really do much luxury 4x4 stuff. I really like the Range Rover. I mean, I really enjoyed driving that. That was one of the big surprises. Graham, don't worry about donating rants because the thing translates. It converts currency already. Somebody donated 70 rand in the last live stream, which is quite cool. The ZAR took me a while to work out what on earth it was. Have I heard of the BMW 333i? Yes, I have heard of it. I can't quite remember what it was, but yes, I have heard of that. Yeah. Okay, so i30M performance for 15 grand. I don't think you can get one for 15 grand. Surely. Okay. Highest displacement engine that I have owned. Yeah, it's the Beamer, 6-litre V12. Don't think of. I mean, I haven't really driven many cars that are that much bigger. The Viper would be the biggest at 8 litres. But yeah, in terms of ownership, yeah, it's the Beamer. Then what would that be followed by? Probably the Merc at 5 litres. Then my other Beamer at 4.4, the 645. What is my favourite and least favourite Mercedes? My favourite, because I've driven some really nice ones. I have driven some really, really nice ones. I really like the CLK DTM. Haven't driven it, but that does, do things to me. Worst, God, A45. Yeah, the original A45. J300, thank you very much. Very, very kind. What American cars do I want to see imported? Well, I'd like the C8 to get over here in right-hand drive, although I'm not sure it's going to happen. Yeah. J300, have a lovely evening. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Rufus, XJ Supersport or the E63? Ooh. Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I, I, I want to say the XJ because I do like Jags, but I think it would be the E63. I think it would. Kid Crack asks about whether I've considered a Lancer Evo as part of my affordable dream car series. Yeah, I would. I haven't driven an FQ 400, 440 or whatever. I would love people to come and do that. Who's my favourite film director? I always used to say Paul Verhoeven. Yeah, I loved his work. Mustang Challenger or Camaro? Generally speaking, Mustang. Didn't I drive that massive engined diesel Audi? Yes, I did. I did drive the Q7 V12. But that was, again, it was a 6-litre V12. Have I ever had a breakdown on a review? Yes. Yes, I have. It was when I was filming the crazy 600 horsepower Evo 10 in America. We were driving this thing. It was a nuts bonkers car. And a bear ran out in front of me, an actual bear cub. And just after that had got out of the way, there was this little thing in the middle of the road. And I thought it was a piece of mud or something, and it wasn't. It was quite a big rock. And it went under the car, but there must have been something just hanging. I mean, this car was low, seriously low. We tapped it, and it knocked the gear selector just completely out. You couldn't get a gear at all. But we fixed it by the roadside. It didn't need assistance or anything like that. So yeah, I had an RS4, not an Audi press car. I feel I should point out. Yeah, that overheated. That wasn't good. We managed to limp that back. Okay, Pancake, thanks very much. Worst car available sale right now in the UK? Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. Yes, some appreciation for RoboCop because it is a brilliant film, as is Total Recall. Graham, thanks for the rant. Do I like Saabs? No, I did own one for a bit. I mean, it wasn't the best Saab ever, but yeah. Okie dokie. What's your favourite classic car, not a modern supercar? Asks Matt. Well, I tell you what, actually, I've never driven one, and it probably isn't my favourite classic car, and that will take some time to think about. But I turned on the TV today, and they were playing an old Wheeler Dealers. It must have been an old one, because, well, actually, kind of been that old, because they were in America, but Ed was still doing things. And they had an old Mercedes 560 SL. And it just looked brilliant. Absolutely stunning. Really, really beautiful car. Okie dokie. Yeah, someone's reminded me that the 333i was an E30 with the engine from a 733i, which is pretty cool. Another one of South African specials. South Africa seems to have a history of doing interesting, unusual versions of cars, often sort of factory backed or main dealer backed. The Piranha, the Piranha Capris with the 5-litre V8, whatever it was in them. That's cool. Yeah. What cars would you tell someone to drive if they want to review cars on YouTube? Just everything. Just everything you can get your hand on. Will electric vehicles force us into road pricing? No, but they'll probably force us into some sort of more unusual or weird taxes, and it's certainly not going to be free. to have an electric car forever. And in fact, I'm pretty sure expensive electric cars you have to pay a luxury tax on anyway. Have I ever dabbled in running an old diesel car on vegetable oil? No, because that is, I think, illegal if you don't pay the fuel duty on it, which is silly. Yeah. And also it just seems a bit of hassle, really. I do know a friend that did do it. He will remain obviously nameless, and it did kill the car. Which car surprised me most? I'll tell you what, I was talking to a friend about this earlier today. Last year, I reviewed, Stratton Motor Company lent me, it was a DB9 Volante, and it was like worst spec Aston I could think of. It's a DB9 Volante, which I don't like the Volante version. It had like, I don't know, it was silver with like a blue interior, which I was like, no. And I loved it. Absolutely, I'd never buy one in that spec, but like the handling was so good, it was quick, it sounded awesome. I'd never driven a DB9 before, and they kind of didn't do anything for me because they dated quite badly, and it was just magic. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you very, very much. It's really, really cool. Aston Martin V12 manual is the modern classic supercar. Thoughts? It's definitely a modern classic. But I don't think it's a supercar. I'm of the opinion that I think a supercar has to have the engine in the middle. That's just the way it is. Yeah. So yeah. Do I think that people who constantly preach about manuals on the internet are annoying? Interesting one. Yes, in some ways I do. The fact is that for cars, I think you have to have the car with the right gearbox. For example, the 6-speed ZF Auto that is in my 7 Series is the correct gearbox for it. Thank you, Edward, again for another donation. Very nice. Yeah. Case in point, if you put a Slushy-Matic Auto in the S2000, it would ruin it. Now, there is an unfortunate period about 15 years ago, let's take the Maserati Gran Sport, where they only offered that with a single clutch manual gearbox. It's awful. I wound up in a YouTube black hole area, and I was watching videos about Ferrari 599s, and the manuals, they barely made any. They made like 30 apparently worldwide, and people just don't. People didn't want them when they were new, but now they're worth an insane premium. And it's kind of telling. I mean, if you look at when Ferrari introduced the F1 gearbox, in the 355 it wasn't introduced early in the model life, but 360 you have a hell of a lot of people optioning the F1 box. Then by the time you get to the 430, hardly anyone's going for the manual. When you're from the 550 to the 575 and introduced the F1 box, like 80-something% of buyers went with the F1 box, even though it wasn't very good, but it's what people wanted. So yeah. Vantage M2 or V6 Exige for 30k. I haven't seen a V6 Exige for 30k for quite a while. I would go Vantage. The M2 is just not, yeah. Do I not think the SLR is a supercar? No, the SLR is not a supercar. Sorry. Yeah. How would I describe a Mercedes SLS? Wide, low, quite nice inside, very fast and shouty. Not driven one though. David Brown, Speedback or Eagle E-Type? Eagle. Someone also asked me about the most weird or unusual. Well, my favourite weird or obscure car that no one else has heard of. I tell you what, actually, for some reason, I don't know why, the last couple of hours I've wound up watching a load of videos on the ISO Grifo. And the looks of that are really grown on me, so they're kind of cool. I also love the Venturi Atlantique, and that's a car I have actually done a review. I was very proud of my Venturi piece because I am pretty sure I was the first person in 20 years to do any new content on a Venturi in English. So that was quite cool. Am I reviewing a Bentley anytime soon? Yes, I should have already have done a Bentley review, except that things. Reese, thank you very much. I do intend to keep grinding away. at the old YouTube game. Ah, Neil is clearly a man that appreciates the finer things in life. In this case, the fast show, channeling is in a Swiss Tony. Okay, so what do we go back through some more questions here? Questions about car shows. Yeah, one of the things I really wanted to do this year is go to more car shows. I don't film at car shows. It's been years since I've been to a car show, but I just wanted to go to car shows to talk to people. I'm sure if I go to a car show, people will recognise me, whatever, because it happens every time I go on a track day. And I just enjoy talking to people that watch the channel. They give me feedback, like I'm doing with you all now, and all that jazz. And yeah, I just wanted to go and talk about cars. I just wanted to do some of that. And yeah, unfortunately, then this year it's all been a bit screwed up. Have I driven a V10 M5 or M6? Yes, and I did a review on it as well. Why can't you find any videos on Marcos cars? Because no one's really made any Marcos cars. Reg has said about the Vector supercar, and in fact, I am friends with a gentleman that used to run Vector. So yeah, I am familiar with them. What's my favourite driving shoes? I have been using just a pair of Lonsdales recently. I want to try and get something a bit fancier to try out. But yeah, I've been using just some basic old Lonsdales. It cost all about 30 quid from the Evil Sports Direct. Yeah. Have I ever driven a Di Tommaso? No, I have not. I would absolutely love to. From the same sort of... I guess mould as the ESO, a beautiful Italian design thing. I don't think the Di Tommaso is actually a very beautiful car. Didn't Elvis shoot his Pantera, if memory serves? Yeah. Okay. Exige S3 or an Evora? Okay. Yeah. Very simple. Like, do you want to drive it on a regular basis? Do you want to drive it for more than about an hour? Because if you do, get the Evora. Done. Have I ever ridden a superbike? Yes, I did a Jigsaw Thou, rode it around Snet like 12 years ago, something like that. Have I ever driven a classic Maserati? No, not really. I've only ever driven one Maserati, which is the 3200. What do I think of the new Di Tommaso P72? Beautiful and completely irrelevant, like all of the other cars that cost that amount of money. How many subs will I have in 1, 2, or 3 years if I grow at the current expected rate? Next year is supposed to be about 200,000 by the end of the year. Yeah. Do I like the Facel Vega? I'm going to have to quickly look that up because the name is familiar. But I cannot think about what it is. Oh yeah, okay. That's cool. Yeah, all right. I could get on board with that. That's a cool looking car. Yeah. Go for that. Ed, thank you again. Very, very kind, Ed. You're making it as a habit. So, funnily enough, I've never, ever been to the Goodwood Festival of Speed in my life. It's one of these things that I know that everybody keeps telling me I should do. This year was going to be the year that I went down because I had invites from a couple of manufacturers to come down and do stuff with them. And then it's cancelled. Yeah. Why don't car makers make 80s style digital dashes anymore? Well, because the people want fancy stuff now. People don't want dials anymore. People are too good for dials. Yeah. So, most positive thing about future electric cars? I mean, it's going to make quick cars accessible for people, which I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Has anyone offered me their new GR Supra to review yet? No, they haven't. Dave, hello. Hello from England. What do I think of the new leaked S-Class interior? That's the one with the huge tablet on it, isn't it? Yeah, I don't hate it as much as I really should, because I do have a general aversion to big tablets on interiors. What's the 100k video plan? Excellent question, and there were loads of plans, and they've all gone to shit. I just really, really don't. Any guilty pleasure cars? Yeah, generally anything that costs like a couple of £100. You can just have an immense amount of fun in. The Nissan Micra K11 that I reviewed, all that sort of stuff. Do I want cars to better integrate infotainment screens? Well, I would love to. I just want us to go back to that lovely stage where the infotainment screen was there. You press a button and it goes away. Like that was just why. Why didn't more cars do that? That was Audi did it in quite a few things. Yeah. So yeah. Favorite generation of S Class? I don't know really. I do have a soft spot for the 220. My 220 is sold, by the way. I might make a video about that, but there's nothing really exciting to say there other than it has actually gone, which has cleared some space on the driveway for something else to arrive. Have you ever thought of doing shows with more than one review? No, I don't have the time. Organising stuff like twin tests and things like that is really, really difficult, and the videos are kind of long as it is anyway. What is my favourite car pedal? I do like the Ferrari pedals. They're probably drilled, really nice, sexy pedals. McLaren F1 pedals are pretty nice too, and I think they're floor hinged as well. Are they floor hinged in the McLaren? Floor hinged pedals are weird. Some people really hate them. Some people can't get on with floor hinged pedals. I don't mind them. MR2 T-Bar or CRX? I haven't done a CRX yet. I've got an offer to do one. Manual F430 or manual Gallardo as an ownership experience and investment. I can never recommend a car as an investment. I strongly recommend people don't do that. I simply say go for the one that you like. Which one floats your boat most? Go for that. For me, out of those two, it'd probably be the Gallardo. The F430 is probably the better car, but it would be the Gallardo. Have I ever driven a Plymouth Prowler? No, I haven't. But I will be driving one soon. In fact, I'll be driving the very same one that's in the banner. What do I think of regular car reviews? I don't get it. I tried watching one today. I don't get it. I just don't. It seems like a joke that I'm not a part of. Best manual transmission. The manual Sora that I drove with a cube speed shifter was pretty amazing. S2000 is of course brilliant. 718 Spider and GT4 are really, really good. What made you choose the type of entertainment that you do? I love cars. Simple as that. Am I just old, or are real buttons better than a touchscreen? No, you're not old, and you point out exactly why. So it's touchscreens are silly. There's certain things where touchscreens work, and there's certain things where touchscreens don't. And I don't, why to turn the temperature up in a car would I have to do that? That just seems silly. It makes more sense to me to have a dial where you can just turn it and go and yeah. Do I left foot brake often? No, never do that. I don't even do that on track. I'm sure there's lots of people being like, you can't be a proper performance driver if you're not left foot braking. Like, no. If I didn't like cars, what would my other choice of hobby be? Probably something film related, really. Do I like any racing on TV? Yes, British touring cars, brilliant entertainment, absolutely brilliant. Do I heel and toe? Yes, I heel and toe all the time in all my cars. How should Lotus replace the XEs? Yeah, with extraordinary care. Where do I get my shirts from? It's a mix. At various different places. Some of the wackier ones are from a British-based brand called Claudio Lugli. There's a link to their stuff in the description of a lot of the videos. Do I like cars without ABS? I don't mind. I like them more than cars with bad ABS. That's for sure. Should I sell my manual E46M3 with CSL airbox and a big brake kit and buy an M2? No. Am I a fan of Aussie V8 supercars? I haven't really watched much Aussie V8 stuff. I don't even know. I don't even know where I would do that. If I could have an immaculate example, would I have a new luxury car or an old one? Depends really. Like I love my 7 Series 2007. It's pretty clean. some of the new cars are quite cool, and when it comes to luxury cars, yeah, um, it's tricky because the luxury cars, some of the newer ones are better, but then there's other things I like about the old ones. Well, they often feel a bit more opulent. Do I play games? Yes, I do. Play a lot of Rainbow Six Siege. There's a Mass Effect poster over there as well. Yeah. Am I on Instagram? Yes, I am. And Pokeboy, yes, it's the Bangle 7 Series I have. Yes, the E66. Have I seen Nick Murray's videos? Yes, actually, literally the last thing I did before I started the live stream was I watched Nick's video on the 599. I was just randomly. I've been watching a load of Ferrari stuff recently, and because I got offered a 599 to drive, and so I broke my own rule, and I decided to watch one of Nick's videos on the 599. And luckily, it hasn't spoiled my own opinions because I didn't really learn a lot from it. But I enjoyed watching the video. So yeah. Do I like the Facelift Alfa Romeo 147? Yes, I do. I owned a Facelift 147 Q2 Sport. It was a brilliant car. Will I be doing Twitch anytime soon? No. Laurie has a Discord server if you want to go and join that one. Have I ever driven a DC5? No. One of my great regrets. I've been offered a DC5 and a DC2 on multiple occasions. It's never quite worked out. Something's always gone wrong. The car's broken. Dates don't work anymore. Like it just, weather's crap. Something always gets in the way of doing a DC5 for some reason. But yeah, I would love to drive a DC5 and see if they live up to the legend. Enzo or F50. That's a pretty easy one for me. That'd be F50 all the way. The Enzo is vast and looks completely unusable on the road. And I would like to think if I was in the position to own a car like that, I would use it on the road. That's what I do. Yeah. There are some indications from scientific analysis that the touchscreens are inherently dangerous. I'm not surprised, and I'm surprised that more hasn't been done to sort of look at this seriously because it's I really don't know why manufacturers obsess over touchscreens for silly things where buttons would have been far better at their job. Am I a fan of lens flare like J.J. Abrams? No, I'm not. Am I into prog rock? No. I like the odd bit of Yes. Don't mind the odd bit of Rush. Jethro Tull, not so much. Planet Rock is my radio station of choice. So I'll give you an idea of the kind of gigs that I've been to. I did Motley Crue's last concert. Alice Cooper was the support. I did Tenacious D, that sort of stuff. Bit varied, really. Thunder. I really enjoyed Thunder. What's better, a pushrod V8 or a double overhead cam? Again, it's kind of like gearboxes almost. You're like, what car is it going in? Like in an old American muscle car. I wouldn't want a double overhead cam, fancy, complex thing. Yeah. Would I do a review of a touring car? Yeah, I'm not sure I would do a very good one, but yeah. How many miles do I drive yearly? Probably 30,000, something like that, 30, 40,000. Have I ever seen any Nicolas Winding Refn films? Yes, I have. And there's a very early series of Winding Refn films called the Pusher Trilogy. And one of the first student films I shot, we actually had one of the actors from that trilogy because the director I was working with, a good friend of mine I met at film school, was Danish, and he loved Nicolas Winding Refn stuff, and I had to shoot a lot of stuff in the style of Winding Refn. So yeah, very familiar with his work. Some of it's weird, really weird. Like Only God Forgives is weird. My thoughts on the Nissan Cube: bizarre car, very bizarre car. I haven't seen the Motley Crue movie on Netflix. I don't know if I want to see it. I do want to see it because I love the music, but I just don't know. Have I met Ricky from Living Life Fast? No, I haven't. We have had a few conversations before. I have absolutely nothing against the guy personally. I think he's a very nice guy, very hard working. Clearly, we do things quite differently. We have different cars that are interest us, different sort of styles of video making that interest us. I think that's very obvious to everyone. But yeah, I've got nothing against him. Will the cat be making an appearance this evening? No, I haven't seen either of the cats actually. It'd be very unlikely for the other one. Florence is the attention whore. So yeah. Thoughts on the Honda Coupe V6? I don't really have any, I'm afraid. When did I start getting into cars? Yeah, since ever, I suppose. Yeah. Do owners bring their cars to me, or do I travel to them for reviews? It's a mix of both. I try and get people to come to me, simply because I used to drive two people for reviews, and then 9 times out of 10, the roads that they chose were horrible, completely unsuited to that sort of stuff. So I prefer the roads that I know. I have roads all over the country that I know. I've got test routes in various places. So if people are really far away, then it's unreasonable to expect them to come to me. So I kind of try and meet people in the middle where possible. Am I excited for the unveiling of the new Porsche Targa tomorrow? No, not really. What insurance company do I use? I have a specialist insurance company called Peter James, who are apparently it's the guy that started Footman James, but it's not Footman James. But yeah, it's a trade policy that I have, which enables me to then be insured on all the cars that I drive. When is the next video out? The next video out is tomorrow, and it features a classic Mini, first time on the channel. Okay. Do I like the new Batmobile? No. Have I driven an X5? Yes, I have. And my thoughts of that car are in that video. What's my opinion on Kitchen Nightmares? Oh, my girlfriend loves Gordon Ramsay when he's angry, like really angry. Yeah, I kind of enjoy watching the show, although it's kind of sad that very, very few of them actually survive. What do I think of the Alfa Romeo 4Cs? Again, there will be a video on that, and that's out in just under 2 weeks. So yeah, I filmed a piece on that. It's actually a sort of re-review, because it's the same car that I reviewed 2 years ago, and my friend still got it, but he's done a couple of mods to it, and I also wanted to look at it now that prices have settled and things like that. Now the model's discontinued. Favorite biscuit? I mean, if I'm feeling decadent, okay, for the caramel chocolate digestive, they're pretty amazing. They're pretty amazing. As a kid, what was the car that I lusted after and that inspired my love of cars? One or two. It would be either a 355, the Ferrari, or the Mitsubishi 3000 GT, because I really loved that car in Gran Turismo. Jason, thank you very much. Very kind. He enjoys the selection of cars on the channel. What is my favourite car-related film? Well, that's a tricky one, because, the best driving scenes and stuff in a film are probably in Ronin, but I wouldn't consider Ronin a car film. Le Mans is, I guess, a very much car film, but it's a terrible film. I don't care what people say about it. It's a terrible film. It's got some amazing shots, but it is essentially an art film with cars in it. Do I like the Murcielago? I haven't driven one. I would love to. Yeah. Have I seen the videos by the Slip Angle? I think I might have seen a couple. What's my pick? Giulio Quadrifoglio or M3? If you're talking about the current ones, M3. Favourite Spice Girl album? Spice World. In light of McLaren's emergency loan being denied, is that the final nail in the coffin? Unlikely. They'll probably soldier on for a little bit, but God knows what's going to happen. Opinions on the V6 Clio? I haven't driven one. They are a curious car. I never used to like them. Kind of love them now because they are just so batshit crazy. They're wacky, wacky things, so I absolutely love those. I'm supposed to be driving one and reviewing one, but again, it's, yeah. All right. What do we got here? Any car that I've driven that was outright dangerous due to poor design. Well, the aforementioned nutty 600 horsepower Evo 10 was pretty crazy, but that was a heavily modified car. I can't really hold that against it. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I've driven anything that's just like lethal. The Model T, I suppose, quite easy to roll. I didn't want to die with, death by Model T. Car with the most stupid engine, Viper. Of the cars I've driven, Viper was just like, what is going on here? Camper vans. Do I think that the driving ability and etiquette has declined? Did they ever have driving ability and decent etiquette? One car surprised me the most when I drove it. I talked about this earlier, but DB9 was a very positive surprise, as actually was the Giulia Quadrifoglio. Really loved that. Really enjoyed driving it. A great thing. And I was so hopeful for Alpha after having driven that. I was like, yay, this is brilliant, this is wonderful. And it's just like, oh no, what happened? And my Brera actually was pretty good. The Brera is so nice inside as well. It's just a shame that it had some other problems. Will I ever do a Defender video? Yes, I will. Best convertible for a road trip through Europe. DB9? Vanquish, maybe? Have I had any offers to drive a W8 Passat yet? Yes, I have. Yes, I actually had emails, I think, today and yesterday about a W8 Passat. Going to take a little while to sort it out, but yes, W8 Passat will be coming to the channel. I'm very happy about. Now that i8s have dropped below £40,000, one of the best examples of depreciation, how far do I think they could fall? Well, I think they have sort of settled, and in fact, there will be a video on the i8 at some point in the near future. Would a C63 507 Coupe be the best option if you wanted to hang on to that 6.2 V8? Yeah, not a bad choice. I actually got quite a thing for the saloon, really. Have I ever driven the V12 Q7 with brake disc the size of a planet? Yes, I have, and I did a review on it. Go watch it. It was one of my most popular videos. I really enjoyed doing it. It's a crazy car. What's standard markup for a used car dealer? There is really no such thing as standard. It very much depends on the market and type of car. Some operate on a percentage, some operate on a number. It's very tricky. What's my local circuit, and do you attend any club meetings? Yeah, technically it's Snetterton, and no, I don't. I used to, but yeah. What's the worst thing I've ever found in a car? That was a question that was asked earlier. On the Passat front, have I ever driven an R36? No, I haven't. What do I think of the new Jaguar F-Type 4-cylinder 2-litre turbo? It's a terrible idea. Absolutely terrible idea. And I don't understand, and I just don't get it. I really don't get it. The Jag is crying out for that straight six. Why the Defender gets the bleeding straight six before the F-Type, I do not know. There's no justice in that. Dave says he's never owned a manual car, but have tried it. Is it too late to start at age 50? No, it's not, Dave. No, it's not. You go, good sir. You go and have fun. Enjoy that manual. Please try and pick a decent one. Don't pick a bad manual because it will just taint your opinion forever. On a £3,000 budget, would you get a Lexus LS or a VW Phaeton? For that money, I would get the Lexus simply because I would expect at that sort of budget, anything that breaks is going to mean that's potentially the end of the car. And the Lexus, let's face it, it's a Lexus. It's not going to break, is it? It's just going to keep going. Whereas the Phaeton, I think that's going to ruin you financially. What sort of things do I plan to do when I come to Japan later in the year? You drive some very nice cars and experience all that Japan has to offer. Go to all the crazy places, buy loads of car models, spend loads of money, eat some food, all that sort of stuff. What is my favourite movie supercar? The Fiora is only Esprit, but I can never make my mind up which one. Do I worry about the future of cars going to electric? No, I try not to. I try not to. What will be will be. As long as there will still be cars, I'm going to be happy with that. I mean, maybe we'll just find. There's also some cars, classic cars and things where if I went to electric, I don't think I'd be that upset. There's a whole bunch of cars where the powertrain is not a part of the car. There's obviously other cars where the powertrain is a huge part of it. Yeah. Mr. Deja Vu King says that there's a Senna that's now down to 650 grand and has been reduced twice. Yeah, it's that does not surprise me. That does not surprise me at all. Okay. The guy who bought my Saab off me says it doesn't start anymore; it just cranks over. I hope you get that sorted fairly soon. Good luck with that. I'm surprised at that because they're pretty solid. Okay. Bonnet's too low on the F-type for the straight six. Well, you can always slant it. Always kink it over. Didn't someone find the Bond sub-esprit and restore it? Yeah, didn't Elon Musk do that? And yeah, apologise if the stream kind of kinked out for a little bit. It's a connection. I don't know what's going on. It's unfortunately nothing I can do too much about. So we've got a few more minutes. Got 5-10 more minutes. So yeah. What car do I dislike for no apparent reason? Well, that's tough. I try and have a reason. I mean, I suppose the one that people disagree with me most on is probably the Abarth 595, which I have a real hatred for. Now we have a 2-litre Supra. Does that mean we can't have a more powerful 86? It's tricky, isn't it? The 86, I feel like they kind of always needed to give it more, and I just don't. I don't know. Okay. What's my go-to curry? Oh, there's a local curry house does a cool thing called a tower, TAWA, which is really nice, really red chicken thing. It's kind of got like a bit of spice to it, not too much heat. I don't like anything like super spicy. It just seems to defeat the point. Yeah. Multiplers are not cool. They are not cool. The most terrifying taxi ride of my life was in a Fiat Multipler. I don't support a football club. My family all support Ipswich Town, and no, I don't like football. Okay, what car's more fun, MX-5 or 86? MX-5. Okay, what else we got? VX220 supercharged or turbo? Supercharged. In that kind of car, always supercharged. You've got to preserve the throttle response. That's a really, really key part of the driving experience. Okay, what was I drinking? It was caffeine-free Diet Coke. 5-litre XKR or F-Type R? Oh, tricky one that. It's a really tricky one, Graham. My instinct is the XKR. I just always much preferred the XKR. After 26 years with Golfs, Panos wants something else. Any recommendations? Yeah. Do you want a sporty car? If you want a sporty car, Hyundai i30N, I really liked. So yeah. Okay. JLC Gaming. Oh, thank you for tuning in. Your first time. I really appreciate it. M2 comp or M4 comp. I don't like either of them. I really don't. I'm sorry. Okay, my friend just bought a BMW M140i and I have a Cayman-based 981. Of course, his car is faster than mine, but the handling is much better. Which one would I prefer amongst the two? The Cayman, I would take. Okay, do I think Bugatti is making too many new models? They don't really have many models at all, do they? This is a bit odd. Okay, what does he have? £28,000 to spend. What do I reckon? If you currently have the new Civic Type R, that's tricky, really. So yeah, if you can get into like a Porsche or something like that, like a Cayman, something like that. But again, yeah. Okay. Am I excited for the future of Lotus now they have some decent financial backing? Yeah, I am. I am very, very excited. I don't know what they're actually going to do with all their newfound fame and fortune. It's going to be a bit odd, but I hope they just do the right thing. That's what I hope. I hope the cars still stay true to the Lotus thing. I'm not too concerned about the whole light is right thing. I've never subscribed to that. But I just hope they keep them driving as well as they always did, because I think Aston, from what I hear, have lost that a little bit. Okay. Anything slightly better than the Fiesta ST that's similar but better? Not really. Okay. Okay. Does my girlfriend watch me on YouTube? Not really. Because she kind of knows what I'm harping on about most of the time anyway. Dan liked the AC Cobra review. Thank you very much. Okay. Here we go. All right. So that seems so. All right. Who is the person sitting in the passenger seat of the review of the electric Kia that I did? Yes, that was my girlfriend. Last minute donation from H2489. Thank you very much. Do I think the project to bring back TVR is finished? I have a unfortunate feeling that it is. It maybe they would have just, kind of made it happen somehow. But that was before all of this kicked off. The car's old. The design is old. Everyone's been looking at it for ages. It's the specs aren't the same. It's not a Cosworth engine anymore. I don't think it's going to be fast enough. I think it's going to be too expensive. And I don't think there's any confidence in the company. I'm not sure. I'm excited about a company that's taken this long to do nothing. I mean, I did the Xenos review recently, and Xenos, for all their faults, they got cars out the door. They did that, and then they failed. And TVR, not sure they're going to get to that stage. They're really not. Yeah. So, yeah. So there we go. That's my time up. My camera battery is now pretty much running out. So I would like to thank absolutely everybody. Absolutely everybody for joining in. I really appreciate it. We had a whole bunch of people. We had like 200 odd people watching at one point, which is great. I hope those that joined for the first time will join me again next week. This will sort of be something that hopefully continues after restrictions are lifted on movement in the country, because I will be getting back to work as hard and fast as I possibly can. My schedule is nuts. My schedule is absolutely crazy. So yeah, thank you all. Very kind. Been great talking to you as always. I will join you for the next live stream on next Sunday. So, thank you very much. Have a great evening. Bye bye.